She always kept the invoices stacked in a wire tray on the edge of her desk, perfectly aligned, alphabetized by client name. It was one of the few things she was obsessive about, a sharp contrast to the rest of her chaos. Clothes on chairs, coffee cups left half full by the sink, shoes kicked off in different rooms. But her business papers, those were sacred. She'd started the social media consultancy 6 months ago, called it something generic like pulse branding, and had fallen in love with the sound of her own hustle. It was her thing, and I let her have it. I praised every post, liked every reel she sent me before it went live, nodded along while she monologued about analytics and engagement metrics I had no interest in. She thought I was being supportive. I wasn't. I was watching. The crack didn't come loud. It was a Tuesday. I came home early from a client meeting, rain delay on the construction site, and she was supposed to be out consulting with some boutique gym on their Instagram growth strategy. She had texted me, "Back by 6. Need to prep for a Zoom pitch at 7. Laptop computer sparkles." So I walked in expecting silence. Maybe the faint smell of her floral candle she always lit when she worked. Instead, I walked into contradiction. On her desk, the tray was gone. Not shifted. Not reorganized. Gone. In its place was a scented candle, unlit. One she hadn't bought. I knew because she hated sweet scents. Always said they gave her headaches. And this one was vanilla sugar, something cloying and heavy. The kind hotels use in the lobby to mask smoke damage. I leaned in. The wick was black. Burned. Someone had lit it. Recently. I didn't move. I just stared at the candle. Then at the corner of the desk where the tray used to sit. There was a faint dust line outlining the square it had occupied for months, like a ghost of organization. Nothing on the desk matched. Laptop closed. No charger. No sticky notes. Her glasses were missing. I checked the desk drawer she always left ajar, empty. Every single invoice, contract, signed proposal, gone. I didn't panic. I didn't feel anything. I just stood there, quietly suspended in the moment. A man mid-step at the top of a staircase, realizing there's no floor beneath him. The candle was the only thing that didn't make sense. Not the missing documents. Not the silence. But that candle. Because it didn't belong. Because she hated it. Because it had been burned. By someone. I walked to the kitchen, opened the drawer where she stashed her sample products, freebies from partnerships she was building. No candle like that. I checked under the sink. Nothing. It wasn't from here. I sat on the couch, still not speaking. Still not reacting. The rain outside had slowed to a mist, coating the window like fogged glass. I watched the condensation drip down the pane like a timer. One drop. Another. Another. At 6:17 she walked in. She looked surprised to see me, but recovered fast. Her eyes flicked toward the office, then back to me. Smile on. Breath measured. "Hey babe, you're home early." I nodded. She started to explain something. Traffic, client reschedule, someone's kid was sick. But I wasn't listening. I was watching her eyes. They were too active. Too rehearsed. She was performing, and she wasn't even good at it. She moved to the office, froze when she saw the chair slightly askew, probably not how she'd left it. Her hand hovered over the desk, fingers brushing the candle like she'd forgotten it was there. "Do you like it?" she asked. "Got it from a client. I know it's sweet, but I thought I'd try something new. Switch it up a bit." Too many words. Too much effort. I just nodded again. She thought the moment passed. She thought I bought it. She didn't know that I knew her tells, the unnecessary justification, the micro-expressions she didn't control when she lied, the way she overcompensated by smiling too wide. She didn't know that the missing invoices weren't just papers, they were a map, a trail, and now they were hidden. Why? Who would she hide them from? She changed into lounge clothes and asked if I wanted Thai or Indian for dinner. I said Indian. She laughed, called me predictable, and started placing the order on her phone. That was when I made my decision. Not to confront, not to accuse, just to move. She thought she was the one becoming something, an entrepreneur, a woman rising, a star in the making. I had let her believe that, fed it, watered it. But the moment she tried to hide the root system from me, I knew. She thought she was building a business. She didn't know I'd built the foundation and buried explosives underneath. She started talking like she was writing captions. Every sentence sounded curated, like it had been tested on focus groups of self-help junkies. "I'm trying to hold space for my own needs," she said one night after I asked why she hadn't responded to my message all day. "Not sorry," Or, I was busy. Just that, served cold, polished and useless. I nodded. She smiled. But the corners of her mouth twitched like she was holding in the wrong emotion. Like the truth would spill if she let the muscles relax. I noticed that more often now, expressions that didn't match her words. Cheerful tones hiding fatigue, warmth delivered with dead eyes. There were two of her now. The version I lived with, and the one she posted online. To everyone else, we still looked fine. Still made date night appearances at her networking mixers. Still held hands in Uber rides. Still posed together at pop-ups and poppy walls. But her hand in mine felt like plastic, hollow and smooth. Like someone placed it there for the shot, then waited for me to let go. The shifts were surgical. She didn't come home later. She came home different. Hair always a little too perfect. Clothes not messy from the day, but fresh like she changed before walking in. And when I asked how her meetings went, she gave me nothing. It was productive. She'd chirp, then pivot straight to what I wanted for dinner, like she was ticking boxes on a checklist titled How to Appear Normal. Her phone used to live face up on the kitchen counter. Now it was face down. Locked. Silent. Always at 100%. She used to leave it charging beside the bed. Now it came with her to the bathroom. Once, I heard her voice through the door, not talking, just laughing. A laugh I hadn't heard in months. Not the polite chuckle she gave me over Netflix. A real one. A laugh from the gut. Then silence. Flush. Faucet. And the door opened with her wrapped in a towel, smile already ready, eyes already blank. "I'm gonna do a mask," she said, breezing past me. I told myself it was stress. The business. Her growth. That maybe I was the one changing. Maybe I wasn't showing up right. So I did more. Asked more questions. Bought her flowers. Cleaned the kitchen. I even signed up for that dumb couple's mindfulness webinar she bookmarked and never started. She thanked me. Called me sweet. Kissed my cheek like I was a good dog. And when I asked if she wanted to do it together, she said, "I think I need to go inward right now. I hope you understand." Then she scrolled through reels about boundaries while we sat in the same room without speaking. She forgot our anniversary. Not entirely, just the day. 2 weeks late, she handed me a card that said happy 4 years of us. The card had a joke about cats. We don't have cats. We've never had cats. She didn't sign it. No note. No inside joke. Just a signature, her name, neat and alone. I put it on my nightstand and stared at it every morning. Like it would explain something if I stared long enough. Then came the almost moment. She said she was staying late to work on a pitch deck for a potential wellness client, some startup in Venice she was really excited about. She even sent me a photo of her setup at a cafe, laptop, coffee, planner, glasses, all arranged like a brand ad. But the timestamp on the message said 7:04 p.m. At 7:31 p.m., I left the house. I didn't go far. Just to the corner where her favorite Thai spot sat, 3 blocks from the cafe. I waited outside, engine running. If she was there, I'd see her. If she was working, fine. I wasn't there to catch. I just needed to know. I saw her through the window at 7:43. She was inside, but not at a laptop. She was laughing again, with someone sitting across from her. A man. Older. Too polished for the neighborhood. They weren't touching. Not close enough to say anything. But the way she leaned in, elbows on the table, hands clasped like prayer, it wasn't business. She looked beautiful. Not the filtered kind. Not the selfie pose. Just alive. Present. Like she was lit from inside. And I realized I hadn't seen that version of her in over a year. Maybe longer. Not once with me. I didn't go in. I didn't make a scene. I didn't take pictures. I just drove home. My hands didn't shake. My breath didn't change. The rage didn't come. Just a slow, crushing awareness. I wasn't in her story anymore. I was an audience member. Watching reruns. She came home at 9:12. Said she lost track of time. Smelled like ginger and lemongrass. I asked how the pitch went. She smiled. And for the first time, I didn't believe a single word out of her mouth. I didn't argue. I didn't accuse. I just watched. Because now, the game was mine. The folder was mislabeled. Receipts Q1, buried deep in the external drive I used to back up her marketing files every few weeks. She never checked them, never even remembered they existed. The drive was mine, a leftover from when I used to freelance, now repurposed to help her with her business. I had plugged it in that night just to see. Not to spy. Just to see. But the folder wasn't receipts. Inside were screenshots. Dozens of them. Some cropped tight, like they were pulled straight from chat threads. A few still had the faint gray iMessage background. One showed a picture of me when I didn't know she took, labeled the husband. That's how she referred to me. Like a prop. The screenshots weren't full conversations, just selected bites. Him. Wish I woke up next to you today. Her. You'd get sick of me in a week. Him. Not a chance. Another. He thinks I'm meeting a client face with years of joy. Her replies were all emojis and deflection. But never denial. Never distance. I clicked through them one by one, and the tension didn't rise, it dropped. Like the air was sucked out of the room. Because it wasn't just cheating. It wasn't just lies. It was curation. Every detail of her betrayal had been editorialized, shaped into a version she could show someone else. She crafted a parallel narrative, one where I was a background character she tolerated while she chased something real. And she was proud of it, documenting it, sharing it, like it was content. I stared at that single phrase, the husband, and the last thread snapped. Not with noise, not with rage. It was precision. Surgical. She had reduced me to a role in her side story. And I knew, right then, I would never be her fool again. I closed the folder. Ejected the drive. Put it back in the drawer exactly where she left it. I walked into the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, drank it slow. Then I sat at the dining table with my laptop and began drafting a list. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to end her. Quietly. Efficiently. And completely. I started with the shared bank accounts, how to legally dissolve them without triggering alarms. Then the joint credit lines. Then the apartment lease, which I had signed a loan back when her credit was still wrecked. I checked my name on the utilities, the insurance, the Wi-Fi, each one another string I could cut without warning. She had no idea how much of her life still floated on mine. I wrote down passwords, documents, names. I backed up the folder to 3 separate locations, encrypted. I copied photos from her phone she'd left charging. Nothing explicit, just selfies, location tags, outfits, timeline data, proof. And as I worked, I stopped hearing her voice in my memory. It wasn't sadness, it was silence. The part of me that once tried to reach her was dead now. She'd killed it with laughter in someone else's messages. I finished the list by 1:42 a.m. Folded it. Slipped it into a hardcover book she never opened, some unread self-help paperback about elevating your mindset. I went to bed, lay beside her, and listened to her breathe like nothing had changed. But everything had. Because now I wasn't confused. I wasn't uncertain. I knew. And she would never see me coming. It started in a restaurant. Not a dive, not fancy, just one of those polished, experienced dining places she loved, the kind with shareable plates and ambient lighting curated for Instagram. She suggested it, called it a celebration. Closed the deal today, she said, texting me a champagne emoji. I knew it was bait, one last chance to test how asleep I still was. But I wasn't asleep anymore. I was awake. I wore a collared shirt she bought me 2 birthdays ago and let her talk for 20 minutes about her branding strategy and energy alignment, while I nodded and sipped water. She looked flawless. Bright lipstick, silk top, that careful tilt of her head when she smiled like she knew every eye in the room would find her eventually. She didn't know I'd already transferred the last shared account to my name that morning. Didn't know I'd canceled the credit card she'd been using for hotel brunches she claimed were networking events. And she definitely didn't know I had the screenshots loaded in my phone, one swipe from the surface. Then, just before dessert, she said it. I'm really proud of us, she said, reaching across the table to touch my hand. Most couples wouldn't survive what we've survived. That was her move, frame her betrayal as mutual pain. Give it the shape of a challenge we conquered together. That's when I asked, quietly, tell me about Martin. She blinked. A beat too long. Then the performance began. Who? She said, almost laughing. Is this a joke? I didn't smile. The guy from the Thai place. From the texts. The one who said he wished he woke up next to you. Her hand recoiled like I burned her. She glanced around, kept her voice low. I don't know what you think you saw, but that's completely out of context. I'm allowed to have friends. You're being paranoid. No, I said, calm. I was being patient. I was being stupid. Now I'm being clear. She scoffed, leaned back in her chair. Are you seriously stalking me now? Going through my phone? This is abusive. You always do this. Turn things around. Make me the villain. I'm working my tail off, trying to build something for us, and you're digging for drama. I nodded slowly, eyes on hers. You're right. You are building something for you, not for us. There hasn't been an us in a long time. Just a man funding your growth while you flirt your way through brand deals. She flinched, but recovered fast. You know what? I shouldn't have to apologize for being successful. You resent me because I'm doing something with my life. No, I said, voice flat. I resent you because you used me like a ladder, and when you got high enough, you kicked it over. Now her eyes narrowed. The smirk crept in, slow and cruel. So what? You're mad that someone else gives me attention? Maybe if you'd been more of a man. I leaned in, voice barely above a whisper. Don't rewrite this into some story where you're the neglected wife. You weren't neglected. You were bored. And instead of facing that like an adult, you crafted a side narrative where I was the obstacle to your true self. You laughed behind my back while I paid your rent. You staged Instagram shots while lying to my face. And you kept your little romance scrapbook like it was art, like deception made you special. The smirk disappeared. Her lip quivered. You don't understand. He listens to me. He sees me. You just watch. Yes, I said. I watched you walk into this. Step by step. I watched you rehearse your exit without ever having the spine to speak it. You thought I'd fall apart. You wanted me weak. You thought you could manipulate your way into a clean break while keeping the perks. But I'm not the man you remember. He's gone. She was shaking now. You don't have to do this here. Please. Let's go home. We can talk. This is the talk, I said. And here's the part you didn't plan for. I already moved the money. The lease is in my name. The accounts are closed. The only thing you own is your name and your lies. Her voice cracked. You said you loved me. I did, I said. I loved the woman you pretended to be. The one who believed in us. She died the day you labeled me the husband in your little storybook. Tears welled up, mascara trembling. People at nearby tables were watching now. She knew it. She straightened her back, tried one last time. I made mistakes, okay? But I didn't mean to hurt you. Yes, you did, I cut in. You chose to. Every time you smiled while lying. Every time you called me boring, predictable, small. Every time you wrote me out of your future. She had no reply. Just silence. Her mouth opened, but the words stayed stuck. For the first time, she looked small. Not composed. Not curated. Just exposed. I stood up. Didn't throw my napkin. Didn't storm off. I just looked at her one last time. She was breaking. And I wasn't leaving. I wanted her to feel the weight of me still standing, unmoved. Because that was the real ending. Not me walking away, but her realizing I already had. She followed me out onto the street like a storm trying to catch its thunder, heels clacking too fast, breath sharp with panic masked as indignation. You're overreacting, she hissed, voice just loud enough to pretend it wasn't shaking. You're doing this for attention. That's what this is. You're trying to humiliate me. I didn't stop walking. She caught up, grabbed my arm, nails too tight. I said I'm sorry, she added, the words empty of remorse, full of tactic. This doesn't have to be some big, dramatic thing. We can fix this. We've been through worse. I turned to her slowly, and that alone made her falter, because I hadn't looked at her since I ended it in front of all those strangers. She started again, quieter now, almost tender. Okay, maybe I crossed a line. But you're not perfect either. You shut down all the time. You act like you're above emotion, like you're this robot who just observes instead of connects. I held her eyes, unmoved. She was swinging wild now, trying every handle on a locked door. You want to pretend like I'm the villain? Fine. But you liked it when I made you feel needed. You liked being the stable one, the quiet hero. You built this whole identity around being the guy who stays. Don't pretend this is all my fault. I let the silence hang. Then I spoke, each word clean and deliberate. You didn't cross a line. You built a new life on the other side of it. She blinked, mouth open mid-breath. I kept going. You didn't lose me tonight. You lost me months ago, when you decided I was just a placeholder. When your stories had room for everyone but me. She tried to interrupt, but I didn't let her. You talked about growth, but never once invited me into that future. You planned your rise like a solo mission, and left me guarding a home you stopped coming back to. Her eyes glistened now, the guilt trying to climb out. I was scared, she whispered. You were always so composed. I didn't know how to reach you. I nodded once, slow and final. You never tried. You just filled the silence with someone else. She shook her head, voice cracking. He wasn't a replacement. He listened. You never. I cut her off, voice a low blade. He listened because you gave him a version of you I hadn't seen in years. You gave him your best, and gave me your exhaustion. Your apologies. Your corrections. You saved your joy for him. She backed up a step, as if the air itself had turned sharp. You'll never find someone who loves you like I did. She spat, the last card in her hand. No one's going to see you the way I did. No one's going to worship your silence, your control. I smiled, just a fraction. You're right, I said. No one will love me like you did. No one will smile at me while lying. No one will touch me with one hand and text someone else with the other. No one will weaponize affection like you did. I don't want that kind of love ever again. She broke then. Not loud, not dramatic. Just a single sob she tried to swallow too fast. Her posture crumbled under it. Shoulders hunched, hand to her mouth, like she could push the sound back down. Please, she said, barely audible. Don't do this. Don't walk away. We built a life. We're not nothing. I leaned in, voice low so only she could hear it. We were something. Then you made it fiction. You erased me. And now I'm just returning the favor. She reached for my hand, and I let her miss. Her fingers touched air, and it stunned her more than anything I'd said. People passed us on the sidewalk pretending not to stare. Cars moved by with that too clean silence of an indifferent world. She stood there, breath stuttering, mascara smudging beneath eyes that once rehearsed every glance. And I said nothing more. Not out of cruelty, but because there was nothing left to answer. Her downfall wasn't dramatic. It was slow, public, and self-inflicted. I just gave her the mirror. She looked into it and finally saw the hollow space where we used to be. And then I went still. That silence was the final blow. Because in it, she realized I wasn't trying to win. I had already won. The first message came on a Sunday afternoon, weeks after the last time I saw her cry in the street like a child begging to stay at a party she ruined. I just wanted to hear your voice, she wrote. I miss us. I didn't answer. Then came the voice notes, stammering breaths wrapped in trembling apologies, phrases like, I didn't realize how much you did for me, and I thought I was chasing something real, but it was nothing. Still, I stayed silent. Her face had disappeared from social media. No more curated captions. No stories. No humble brags. I later heard her branding clients had quietly dropped her, one by one. Word spreads fast when lies leak into business. She tried pivoting to wellness, then photography, then a podcast about healing, but no one listened. Not anymore. Her name stopped getting tagged. The affair partner, Martin, ghosted her 3 days after I exposed the screenshots to his wife. That was all it took. Just truth. Truth and patience. Her friends stopped replying, and the ones who didn't block her started treating her like a warning sign, not a survivor. Her family? Cold. Her sister forwarded me one of her rants accidentally, or maybe on purpose, where she blamed everyone but herself. Even then, I didn't respond. Not out of vengeance. Out of detachment. Like watching a movie where the characters mean nothing, no matter how loud they scream. The last time she showed up in person, it was raining. Of course it was. No umbrella. No makeup. She stood on the porch like a ghost of someone I used to know, holding herself like the air had weight. I still love you, she said, trembling. You were my soulmate. I don't even know who I am without you. I looked at her, long and slow, and for a second I saw it, the full collapse. Not just a woman who lost a man. A woman who lost herself, because the lies were all she had left, and they didn't work anymore. She wasn't cruel now. Not clever. Not powerful. Just small. Like a stranger holding onto the echo of someone else's life. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. The silence was its own answer. She broke again, slumping down onto the steps, sobbing into her hands like someone had died. Maybe something had, but not me. I'd already started over. Quietly. Cleanly. My money was secure. My peace was real. I was dating again, not flaunting it, just living. And I didn't see her in my future anymore. Not even as a memory. That was the worst part for her. Not that I hated her, but that I didn't. That I looked at her and saw a stranger with a shared past. A chapter I'd already closed. She tried again before she left. Just talk to me, she whispered. Please. Even if you don't love me, just talk to me like I still matter. And I think that was the moment she finally understood. She didn't. Not to me. Not to anyone who still mattered. She turned and walked away, and I didn't watch her go. I just stepped back inside, closed the door, and felt nothing. Not relief. Not revenge. Just clarity. She had spent so long crafting illusions, thinking love was a performance. She forgot that real connection isn't loud. It's consistent. And once you destroy it, There's no applause, no encore. Just silence. Just absence. Just consequences. Thanks for listening. Let me know where you're watching from and what you would have done if it were your wife.